Let's speak to a Kenyan who is not in this country, but he is in Rwanda. This is a gentleman called Keffa Angwenyi. Keffa Angwenyi is an architect. He worked and lives in Kigali, Rwanda. Keffa has seen both ends, where Rwanda went and came up with strong measures to institute a lockdown, and now the lockdown is being partially lifted in Kigali. Good morning, Keffa.
Eric and company, how are you people?
Good morning.
We are very well, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for the nice introduction.
Thank
nice
you for
what you're doing there.
Thank you for joining us today. We understand that Rwanda is now lifting some of the stringent measures it had put in place in terms of a lockdown. What's happening now?
Yes, indeed. As from yesterday, the government has allowed most of the services to go back. Actually, the main activities that are closed is schools and colleges. For the schools, it is decided that this calendar year for the national program is suspended. It's actually cancelled. So they'll start a new year after September.
Wow, okay.
But for the other services, we've been allowed to go back, but with the social distancing guidelines and recommendation to reduce the number of staff that need to be at office. The government is encouraging most people to work from home, those who can be able to work, to continue working from home.
So for how many weeks were you in total lockdown?
Almost 6. We started on 20th up to 3rd, so we resumed on 4th.
And
20th of March, I mean.
what was total lockdown? Just tell us what it entailed on a daily basis.
Total lockdown was essentially total lockdown. You were to remain at home and request for permission to do essential services. Essential services here, talking about going to hospital, going to bank, going to buy food. Initially there wasn't that requirement. They had put a time band in the morning when you could go to shop in the market, and for the others you ask for permission at the police at the roadblocks. There are many roadblocks within the city. Later on, they moved all that to online. So whatever essential services you wanted, you had first to get authorization from the police. And once you get the authorization, they give you a code which you were to show to the police at roadblocks. The police had devices where they could confirm that indeed you had permission.
So if you want to go to the supermarket, you want to go to hospital, you first go to your mobile device and make that application.
Yes, there was an SSD code, or you could go to internet. They had created a portal. You go through the process of registering your information and clarifying what you want to do and the time you want to do it. And then within an hour or so, the police would send you a text to your phone to confirm if you are been given permission or you've been your permission had not been granted.
Do you see that people complied? If you want to look at people, across, did people comply with the orders? Did people comply with the lockdown across towns, across the country?
Yeah, I think, in Rwanda, I think the general feeling was that the government is doing it in the interest of the people. So all people from all walks of life tried their best. There is a pool of people who, for example, like farmers or those people who come from the outskirts of the city. There was, from what I was seeing, they at least loosened up their measures. People still were allowed, like the guys who bring avocado and bananas from the village.
Yeah.
But by and large, the ones who are within town did comply. And I think there was a general feeling that they are with it. The government is doing in the interest, and the people are in it with them. They are doing their best to forestall. Of course, there was a lot of challenges in terms of how much that could be done, but you could see like there was a general feeling like everyone was trying their best to adhere to those regulations.
Okay, and just looking at people who may have been taken care of, because obviously Rwanda shares the same problem where there are some people who look for hand to mouth every day. were they taken care of? And I will say that against like Kenya, for example, where a lot of people depend on hand to mouth every day and still trying to come out because they don't have, sustenance. Did we see the same situation there, or was there something that has been provided for them?
Yes, talking to that, as I was listening to the discussion earlier, I mean, the both governments, Kenya and here, do have information, but I think Rwanda tends to apply the information they have. Maybe because it's small, I don't know, but the people of the lowest category are generally known, not because of the pandemic, but there's actionable things. Like, for example, if you talk about insurance, health insurance, they are the lowest cadre of people which are considered category 6. They don't pay health insurance. There are many things that they are exempted from. Okay. So when the government is distributing around, it knows people it ought to distribute for, because they where they stay, they are known, and who they are actually. It is actionable.
It's already within the system.
When the government, it's within the system, so it was targeted. They were not just going maybe into the road and trying to call people to come and pick packages. They generally went to the neighborhoods and distributed those people who fell in those categories they felt that need the support from the government.
When people needed to move out, let's say you had to go to the bank or to the market to do all those other activities, because from what you're saying, you apply, then either you get a go-ahead or not. When people were out, how were they moving around? Were people walking? Like what Uganda, Museveni told people, like, if you want to go to your market, leave your car, walk. Were people walking? Could people drive? And was there any physical distancing being observed within, let's say, Kigali, for example?
To start with, the walking generally was more, what I could say, most people did walk because the shops remained open in the neighborhood. So most people could walk maybe to a kiosk near their home. But with the few times I passed, there was a time I took a baby to the hospital, you couldn't really see many people on the street. So it was not a situation where even at that time it felt like you would require to bother with social distancing.
Yeah.
Later on, they have asked people to be using masks even before the lockdown, but initially the numbers were few on the roads. And for the people who wanted to go far, it was going to be difficult because they allowed only one occupant in the car. And there was no public transport.
Yeah.
There was no public transport, meaning no buses, no motorbikes. So you had to be in a car, and if it is a taxi, then it carries one passenger.
Only one passenger.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the measures that are actually being taken in addressing COVID. From testing, how has testing been done?
From what? Come again?
Testing for COVID cases.
Oh, okay. I need to tell you that I was in Nairobi shortly before the lockdown here. Actually, I arrived here and then the government did a lockdown. My family stays here. And there's a stark difference on how the approach was. Even before I left for Kenya, which was early March, they had started taking information. All government institutions had been asked to provide sanitizers and all public places, even prior to the lockdown. And when we left the country and came back, they were taking our information. Maybe because also they wanted us to be honest, they were not taking our names. Whenever you land at the airport, they just take all the details, your travel history, your situation, which is unlike Nairobi. Nairobi, when we fill those forms, and I'm feeling like I might be traced and be whatever identified, probably I can put information that is not accurate.
Yeah.
But this year was in personal information at the airport. They take all the information. You tell them your history and where you've been and what you feel, so they don't link it directly to you as a person. And of course, you would tell them where you stay. So for the people who came towards the time of lockdown, they also followed. They put officers to track you and continue following your development. Because I gather there were times they started seeing some cases from the planes that came towards the lockdown.
Yeah.
So the people who had been in those planes were traced. I had a friend who they kept contact for the duration and ensuring that he followed the guidelines from home.
Okay.
Right.
After that, the mandatory quarantine now was done by the government. There's a center they created, instituted. So whenever you came, you went to the quarantine center, and if they discovered you have the virus, then you were taken out to the isolation center. What people have been happy, including foreigners, because most of the people initially who came with the virus were actually not Rwandan. Is that there was total. The treatment, the testing was free of charge.
It was completely free for everybody.
Free completely. I don't know whether it will change with time, but up to this point, it is free. Testing is free. Medication is free. Everything. The government has taken up all those costs for the cases that have been discovered so far.
So as the measures loosen a little bit in Rwanda, do you see that people will still follow? I mean, because the measures are being released and they're giving protocol of how it's going to be done, right? Do you see that people will follow based on what has happened before? Will they follow now with the releasing of these measures? Lockdown essentially is being, relaxed, isn't it? So do you think that people will follow from what you hear?
You see, it's been lax, but it's not, as you say, it's not entirely been put on hold.
Yeah.
Still, we don't have people traveling on motorbikes. Buses only carry 50% of the passengers. And, one thing that you probably may know by now, that Rwandans generally obey the law.
Yes.
Even when you walk in the streets, people do wear masks.
Yeah.
So you see some of them are struggling. They are not covering their noses, but nobody is walking without a mask, for example. And from the little I've seen, because only yesterday I was able to go out, I'm seeing like people are observing by and large, not 100%,
but by and large they are.
People are, by and large. Yeah.
Keffa Angwenyi, we want to thank you very much for speaking to us, for sharing your experience.
Thank you, Eric.
And we wish you all the best. Stay safe to you and your family.
Asante sana, nanyi wakati mwema.
Asante pia.
Thanks, Keffa.
Thank you.
They went hard, and now they're relaxing. And look at the numbers.
Right.
I think
We have been pussyfooting on this issue. We don't know. Should we open restaurants? Should we not? Should we close bars? Should we not? Should we allow matatus? Should we not? Where are we?
here we are.
490.
I look at what he said, and it's, I think, very important, and I hope some people in our government are listening, that mandatory quarantine, isolation, testing has been free, covered by government. And I've just quickly checked, and they've done 35,000 tests.
Wow.
That is more than we have done.
Of course, they have 260 out of 35,000
Yep.
tests.
We have done what now, about just 22,000? 22,000 tests.
Yes.
A whole 12,000 cases more than us, and 0 deaths for them.
Yeah.
How many cases do they have? Half of what we have reported because of the measures we've taken.